Right, okay, yeah. Are we ready to roll if I start the session? Right, okay. This session is the last one of the month. So next week will be May. So May's a 5-week month, so it's be £60. What I'm trying to do, and what I've been able to do with the afternoon class is the afternoon class has grown quite big. So I've been able to, if people miss a session, I've been able to carry them over. Now it's not so easy to do that with this class because we're a smaller number. Sometimes you get, I don't think I've even got 15 this month, so it's been a bit quieter. But if I get a bigger average overall, then I'll sort of share the averages. So just to let you know that there may be cases where I can carry sessions over and there'll be cases where I can't. Okay, so
I'm going to miss 2 this month, so.
Sorry?
I'm going to miss 2 this month, so I want you to carry, do 2 full days.
Yeah, absolutely welcome to do that.
Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can still do that. You can still do the catching up. That's absolutely fine. Well, what I mean by carry them over is like so because the afternoon class has got quite busy. If somebody missed a session, I can then carry them. They pay like one less for the following month. That's what I mean.
Oh, you can't do that this way.
I can't do that at the moment. No.
On the sessions.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
you can still wake up sessions.
you can still make up sessions, absolutely. You'll always be able to make up sessions. What I'm really trying to say is if I get an average overall with this class and the other class that goes above 15, then I will be able to do that. But I can't guarantee that way, really.
So nothing's changed really?
No. So on a Tuesday afternoon, is
Yeah.
it very busy? Is there room to?
Yeah, I think there's still room because we've got places for 16. I think it's 22 seats there. There's 22 seats, so there's plenty of room.
There's an
Yeah.
boy that sits here.
Oh, right.
He'll
He'll see this because he watches these videos. He watches these videos are terrible. So if he talks about people,
Shall I sit there?
right. So
I don't want to get into trouble.
we're creatures of habit, aren't we? Does anybody do you all swap seats every week?
I think I've sat about most of these
Yeah.
It's just habit, isn't it?
You sit there, but.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the bit about that. So last week I did a little bit on this one. So my demo in a minute. I'm just going to do a little bit of bits and bobs sort of demo, with just covering a few things I've seen people struggle with. So I'll do that in a minute. The other thing I was thinking of, like for May, the thing that a couple of people asked me last week, and the thing that I found is. This was one of my ideas, which is kind of working from the masters, or something inspired by the masters. Now, or it doesn't have to be the masters, basically something inspired by somebody else. So it could be that you might want to, it might be like you're copying another artist's work, or you might be just using a technique you've gathered from another artist. So that's basically the thing, kind of looking at other people's work. With that in mind, I've got a collection of images here that I actually got given these, so they're all different, copies of different art or photos of different artworks, all different things. You've probably seen these before. I've got these out in the past. I've only really got one of each one, so I was thinking like, if you want to, I've got them all here. So if you want to have a look at any of these today, and then if more than one person wants to use the same image, I'll then copy it for them for the next session. So if that's the case, I've got some sticky notes, just write your name on any particular one that you're interested in, and then I'll make sure there's a copy available. Is that right? I'm not going to copy everything, but just, whatever people use.
Make out.
Yeah, that's it. The other thing is I've got a couple of these books about techniques of the masters. So again, if there's anything there, they're a bit of inspiration, just looking at how different artists have worked throughout the ages. So that's all kind of down there, if you want to do that.
So could you just pick your own subject
Yeah.
in the style of something?
Yeah, you can absolutely do that. Yeah. And it's really very much, this theme or your own project, whatever kind of project. If you don't like the idea of this, just any kind of project that you want to do, and I will support you in that project. So I'm kind of leaving it fairly open in that respect. Is that right? Okay, good. So this was the one I was working on, and basically this is like underpainting. I've got a little bit of colour everywhere, and I would then go back over and give it another paint. So I'm more or less, and quite finished this bit here. But that was the image I was working with that one. So it's more kind of getting details now. But that's, I know some of you, I've seen quite a few people just, perhaps when they start painting, they'll just work on one tiny bit and there'll be a lot of white canvas around here, and then they'll go on to the next bit. I've always found that quite a hard way to work. This is the way I was taught. I know that different people do work in very different ways, but I'm finding that getting some colours and tones everywhere to start with, almost like a sort of simplified version of them. And then I can then judge, how everything's balancing out. And I can think, well, maybe there's not enough contrast here, and I can see how light that looks against some other tones. So that's very much how I encourage you to work with, is get some colour and tone down first, and then work into some details. That's that. The bits I thought I'd have a look at today are a mixture of blossom and bluebells, just because I've seen one or two people struggle with painting blossom trees and bluebells. So I can't think of this other bluebell. So there's a couple of sort of demo, or a couple of paintings. This was actually a demo from a few years ago I did, a very similar sort of scene. These are all dusty at all. And they should be out pretty soon, I think. So I haven't been up there yet, but I think they'll be coming out very soon. And this is just around the corner, and these are just about to come out. I don't know if you noticed in the car park, they're just about there. So.
Are they out in South End?
Well, they're probably the same, and they haven't really looked, to be honest. So things like blossom trees, the way I've worked out what seems to work best for me is to start with some sort of darker tones. And I realised this painting a tree when I started going too light, and I had to sort of paint around all the light colours. So I actually would start with something like a sort of, well, in this case it's quite a pink. I'll use that image. So let's get that to attach. I mean, in here, it's difficult to tell what colour it is. It's not very bright pink, so let's go a little bit browner there and darker. So I've just basically painted a couple of trunks. I'll basically start with something a little bit shadowy and really kind of working into these areas here. That's even a little bit darker still. So some blue and brown mixed in with the red there. And I'm really looking for patterns of light and dark, so I'm not worried about painting every single flower in there. It's really just trying to get a sense, well, there's quite a dark passage there, a dark passage under here, quite dark in here, and then underneath there, and perhaps a little bit more there. And if I look through, there's probably some more areas I could find that. And then the next bit is almost like a mid-tone. I've got a bit of a tendency to go very bright, so I'm deliberately greying this down a little bit. So something like that. Let's not maybe go a bit lighter than that. I think actually the darks could go a tiny bit darker. I'm also using, I quite like these bristle brushes, something that isn't too sharp, something that I can get kind of soft to mark with. And again, not too small a brush, just really looking for broad areas to start with. And we've got some shadows up in here. Makes us a little bit bluer. And you could actually sort of block that in most of these areas, in fact, because the acrylics will dry very quickly. And then the lightest areas, or the lighter, let's go another. The shade lighter to start with, a little bit from the brush. And I quite like the impressionists, and I like quite impressionistic sort of brush marks. So it's more kind of giving a general impression of the whole bottom tree rather than rather than an absolute replica. I'm kind of looking at those shapes and this shape here and these bits coming across here. A bit like that. And of course I can carry that through. And then the final bit is to just go even lighter still. Just use a brighter pink and just so in places you get odd dots and dashes where the sun catches a little bit brighter. Yeah, it's almost white really. Just a few little bits where the sun's catching. Yeah. So that's basically, sort of a build up from dark to light. Well, one thing I do find with acrylics though is I find it's really important to have a good white. And I find the artist quality whites, for me it's worth paying out the extra money. They are quite expensive, I don't know where mine is, but they're quite a bit of money. But I do find that the student quality ones just don't block out the colours underneath. So you put layer upon layer upon layer. So it's cheaper paint, but you're spending so much time trying to get paint on and letting it dry. So that's something I definitely recommend. Do a little bit on this one. A few bluebells around here maybe. So something like this, you've really got a mixture of the bluey areas and the greeny areas. I don't think it matters too much which order you work on. But so if I was painting this little passage here, I might try and get some green here. So again, starting with the darker, starting with the dark or the mid-tone green, doesn't matter too much. And basically, as long as you've got a little bit of a variation, you're not just going with one solid green. So that's yellow and blue. Maybe I'll add a little bit of white with that. Give that impression of a really bright bits of sun. And again, slightly smaller brush, but just something that I can give a nice dappled broken. You could sort of get one green over everywhere to start with, something a bit like that, and then come back and put other ones in there. And then the same sort of thing with the blues really, going with the darker blues to start with. So some ultramarine and a little bit of a magenta colour, something quite nice and purpley. Just lighten that a tiny bit, but it's some quite strong blues in there, shadowy blues. And some of these will, they'll be almost like a solid band across here, but then you'll get the odd one or two that kind of fleck up and down and into the green. Let's draw a few into there. And you could do the same in the green, bring some greens in. And then going a little bit lighter. Breaking that up a little bit. And then finally, almost white, because it's got some it's a bright sunny day. It just captures the odd one or two here and there. Perhaps some of the greens need to go a bit darker in there. But basically, just giving this almost sort of broken paintwork surface look, almost like a pointillist. The pointillist painters, where they just put lots of different colours next to each other and gives this nice, vibrant, lively look to the paintwork. So you can create something similar with subject like that.
Okay.
Thank you.